Every winter, before antibiotics, before antivirals, before sealed homes and forced air heating, families faced flu season with one primary defense-controlled cold air. This was not guesswork or folk superstition. It was a widely practiced household method backed by early medical observation and disciplined routine. Fresh, cold air was treated as a tool, managed carefully inside homes, schools, hospitals, and sick rooms. What we lost was not the knowledge, but the discipline to apply it correctly. Cold air was managed, not endured. Cold air therapy did not mean exposing the sick to freezing conditions. It meant regulating airflow, temperature contrast, and humidity to interrupt disease spread and support recovery. Windows were opened daily, often several times, regardless of weather. The goal was constant air exchange. Indoor air was considered stale and dangerous, especially when illness was present. Families understood that warmth without circulation bred sickness. In practice, a bedroom with a sick family member would have one window cracked open day and night. Heavy bedding compensated for temperature loss, not closed windows. The patient stayed warm, the air stayed cold and moving. This distinction mattered. Cold air was applied to the lungs and environment, not to bare skin. Early 20th century public health records repeatedly noted lower infection rates in well-ventilated homes and schools. During the 1918 influenza pandemic, open-air wards showed better survival rates than enclosed hospital rooms. Nurses worked in winter coats. Patients slept under thick blankets. The air stayed fresh. At home, grandparents applied the same principle on a smaller scale. Morning ventilation was just routine. Windows were opened fully for 10 to 15 minutes, even in deep winter, flushing out the overnight air. Kitchens, where moisture and heat would build up, were aired more aggressively. Bedrooms followed immediately after waking. This was done every single day, not only when someone was sick. A modern application is, honestly, simple and controlled. Open opposing windows for about 5 minutes to create cross-ventilation. Do this once in the morning and once again in the evening during flu season. Keep your body warm while allowing the air to exchange. This actually mirrors the historical method, but without any discomfort. Doctors before the antibiotic era noticed that cool, fresh air reduced coughing severity and improved breathing comfort. Warm, stagnant air tended to thicken mucus and irritate the lungs. Cold air, on the other hand, thinned secretions and reduced airway inflammation. This was especially important for influenza and pneumonia, where breathing efficiency really mattered. So, grandparents would position beds away from direct drafts, but still within those gentle airflow zones. Curtains were often adjusted to guide the air movement upward rather than letting it blow straight across the face. The main objective here was circulation, not chilling anyone. Whenever possible, windows were opened from the top, which allowed the cold air to mix before it ever reached the patient. Today, this same idea can be applied by just cracking windows at the top or maybe using window deflectors. It's important not to seal rooms completely with all that modern insulation, especially during illness. Honestly, a slightly cooler room with moving air supports breathing much better than a warm, sealed environment. Coal stoves, wood fires, and those early radiators, they really dried out indoor air aggressively. But families, they countered this on purpose. Pots of water were kept near heat sources, and damp cloths were hung in sick rooms. This added moisture prevented airway irritation and reduced coughing fits. So, cold outdoor air naturally carries less moisture, but that constant exchange actually prevented indoor air from becoming overly dry or stagnant. This balance really mattered. Flu symptoms, for example, always seemed to worsen in dry, overheated rooms. Our grandparents understood this, not through scientific theory, but simply by careful observation over time. These days, there's a modern parallel. Reducing thermostat settings during illness and adding humidity, but without sealing off airflow. A room kept at around 18 to 20 degrees Celsius, with fresh air and moderate humidity, actually mirrors historical sickroom conditions more accurately than the modern overheated homes we often see now. Cold air methods, though, were rarely used on their own. During daylight hours, windows were opened to let direct sunlight stream into rooms. Sunlight was believed to cleanse both air and surfaces, and interestingly, this idea was later supported by ultraviolet research. Beds were positioned so they could catch the light, and even in winter, blankets were aired outdoors. It's fascinating how these practices work together, right? This practice reduced indoor pathogen load and, really improved overall air quality. Fresh air plus sunlight was considered essential maintenance, not treatment. Applying this today means, opening curtains fully during ventilation periods and allowing sunlight into rooms whenever possible. Airbedding outside when weather allows, even if it's just briefly. These habits reinforce airflow benefits without any modern equipment. What made the cold air method work was, honestly, consistency. Windows were opened daily. Sick rooms were managed deliberately. Heat was adjusted, not maximized. Families followed routines regardless of discomfort. This discipline separated effective practice from just casual airing. There was also, a psychological element at play. Fresh air signaled cleanliness and order, while stale air meant neglect. This mindset really shaped behavior long before germ theory became common knowledge. These days, modern homes often, reverse this logic. Comfort is prioritized over air quality, and sealed environments can trap viruses, bacteria, and moisture. Reintroducing disciplined airflow, honestly, restores an old advantage that we kind of abandoned. Now, this is not about rejecting modern medicine. It's about restoring environmental control. During flu season, ventilate living spaces daily. Keep bedrooms just a bit cooler at night with fresh air. Avoid sleeping in sealed rooms, and use bedding and clothing to maintain body warmth while still allowing air movement. If someone becomes ill, prioritize airflow over heat. Crack windows continuously, reduce room temperature slightly, add moisture if heating is necessary. These steps align precisely with historical practice and remain relevant because, human physiology has not changed. Cold air methods did not prevent all illness, but they reduced severity, slowed spread, and supported recovery when medical options were limited. The principles remain valid because they are environmental, not pharmaceutical. They rely on airflow temperature control and discipline, not trends. Understanding how our grandparents managed flu season gives us practical tools, not nostalgia. It reminds us that survival often depended on routine, observation, and restraint, rather than intervention. If this kind of grounded historical knowledge matters to you, subscribe to Wisdom for the Journey and share this with others who value practical lessons from the past. These methods deserve to be remembered, understood, and used wisely.